Hey everyone, we are shortly before the solstice, and if you are super spontaneous, I still have 2 spots to join us in the Sacred Valley of Light in Switzerland for our upcoming Legacy of Light Sacred Feminine Leadership Retreat. It's on from the 18th to the 22nd of June. If you feel like you want to be in the presence of women who are really ready to steward this new earth into being and experience sacred sisterhood and the codings of your own birthing template, then join us. It's going to be super beautiful and amazing. Welcome back, sacred travel friends. I have a first. I'm recording out of my garden. I hope that the audio quality is well. So if you do hear some bird chirping noises, yeah, it's because there is nature around. And I just want you to, if you're watching this, like look at this gorgeous light reflection, the light codes that we have coming in today supporting this episode. So before we dive in today, I just wanted to take a moment to really, really thank you from the bottom of my heart, whether this is your first episode or you've been on this journey with me from the beginning. I am really so grateful that you're here. Your presence, your listens, your feedback, they mean the world to me. And this podcast is a labor of love, and your support is really what keeps it alive and growing. So if today's episode moves you, inspires you, or sparks something within you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who you think that could need it, or just take a moment to leave a review. Thank you, because these simple actions from you really ripple out further than you know. So thank you for walking this path with me. It's because of you that this space exists. Now, summer travel and pilgrimage season is on. If you want some tips of like how to enjoy the most while you are traveling with your family, but still want to have a sacred experience, I encourage you to go back and listen to episode 14. It's where I share how I exactly made that bridge in a family vacation in Egypt. And also, one of the last episodes was quite favorite and popular with you. Episode 63, your sacred travel tips, the travel one-on-one, what to pack, what to bring along for magic to be captured while you're on the trip. And thank you so much for all of your feedback. If you haven't listened to it, and I highly recommend you go check it out. There's a lot of pure magic in there in terms of like how you can prepare. From this episode, I received a question from one of you to share my favorite brand for magnesium supplements. And I want to share, I'm not getting anything from this, just sharing what I love. There's a couple of products and brands that I use. So one is Unimedica. It's part of the Narayana group. Another one, it's just for the brand name, it's Nahani. And for magnesium, a dear friend of mine, she has a natural skincare company. It's called Mageo, and all of her products have a high dosage of magnesium in it. So you actually take it over your skin, which is the biggest organ. This is what I can recommend, what I am using. Please check your local brands, as it is always best also to source locally and trusted. If you have any products that you love, please share them in the comments. I'm going to be putting links in the show notes, but please bear in mind that they might not be available in your country. All right, so let's dive into the episode. And I am inviting you into my home area today where I live. So we stand at Lake Constance, where 3 countries meet. I invite you to just close your eyes for a moment and feel into the stillness, the geometric grace, as it's a tri-border location, its ancient presence. Lots of Merkaba codings coming together. The balance of dualities, the land and water, sky and earth, formless and the form, as a gateway as one of Earth's sacred nodes, sacred geometric patterns and energy lines. So that's for you to feel in. And just mentioning also, we have just been in this, or we are still in this like post full moon in Sagittarius. So I feel there's a lot of like expansion, contraction. The episode is episode 66, and I'm recording this on the 12th of June. So there's a lot of like these codings of the 6th of the Merkaba coming through today. So where are we? We are in Germany, we are in Austria, we are in Switzerland. We are at a tri-border constellation region called Lake Constance. It's one of the biggest bodies of water that you find in Europe. And in English, the lake is named after the biggest city that you will find, Constance. But actually in German, the lake holds a different name, and its name is meaning kind of like ground lake or root or soil or base. And I've been basically living here my entire life. And you know how sometimes it's really hard in a way to describe the energy of a place that you are so used to that it feels like home, and because you are in it all the time. And I wasn't planning to do this episode actually, but it came in very strongly last week that I am supposed to talk about, this region here and where I am. And when I reflect back, especially like the first years of my presence on Earth during childhood and adolescence, and then like going away for studies, the only thing that I really felt in my body is that whenever I would be away from water for a longer period of time, it would really like make me nervous and ungrounded. And so wherever I lived, I would always make sure that I have some source of water close to me. There might be a little bit of a contradiction in a way, but actually what the water does to me, and I want you to feel in your own truth for that, it's really like grounding me. It's grounding me back into my source and into the source of the Great Mother, like in the womb of the Great Mother. I feel really held. And so Lake Constance, Bodensee, this ground lake, the root, the soil, the base, it's really the root chakra of Germany, because it's in the very south of Germany. It's in the north of Switzerland. And so imagine how there is this energetic stream and also this physical like stream of water that is being sourced in the crystalline Alps and the mountains of Switzerland. That is the Rhine River flowing with these crystalline coatings from the higher realms, the higher altitudes. So it's like these solar codes that are coming in, being in the minerals, and that is filtered into the water. And then the water streams run down and gather in this vast repository of water in the Lake Constance, to then in the Rhine River flow further up north all along Germany, but also other countries in Europe, like the Netherlands and so on, to eventually like end up in the North Sea. So it's not only, I mean, a lot of people like talk about the Nile as this backbone and as holding the chakras with the temple, which is true, but it's actually all rivers, or a lot of, okay, let's see, there's so much light here. For those who are watching, you get to see double orbs and rays of sunlight. So my face is a little bit blurry, but it doesn't matter. It's all the waterways that are the sacred code bringer, carrier of information as we traverse, or as they traverse different landscapes, different countries. And so it's also when you look at it, like, yes, it's this vast repository of water and it's the base, but it's also sort of the completion of the cycle where we're coming from. So it's always the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end, or the end and the beginning, like no matter where you're coming from. So referring again, like to these Merkaba codings, where it's like this sacred equilibrium and the union codes, this of high alchemy coming together, like how we transform death into new life. And also from a historic point of view, trying to get it a little bit better visible. There is in the waters, there is actually something that they call Stonehenge of Lake Constance. There is underwater stone cairns. I'm not sure if they have extensively been researched, but it's really incredible. Like if you go along the lake, there is not only in the water, but also like numerous ancient stilt houses, villages that existed all along the lake. So there was this whole civilization that was thriving on the water and on the shores. Roughly, they dated around kind of like 4,000 to 800 BC. And big parts of Lake Constance are also UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So the region and its main city, Constance, can really be seen as a transformational gateway, a reorienting taking place in these holy waters. So the main city, as we already said, is Constance. And I'm inviting you to take a look on the map as well, because the shape of the lake is also very peculiar to me. It is always like this dragon head in a way, with these two, I don't know, earlobes, or what could be just like the little hair on the head, little wings, kind of like. And it's where like the land mass is coming together, really at the eye of the needle where Constance is placed. And it's the interesting thing about it, there's such a rich historical history, because it's been for many centuries a cultural and also intellectual hub, most important for religious, political, and also economy in a way, as a gateway in between empires. And indeed also in the Holy Roman Empire. So its influence peaked between the 11th and the 15th century with the Great Council of Constance. It's been 1414 to 1418. And so imagine you are like in this medieval city, and there's like this hustle and bustle, and there is scholars, there is bishops, there is like people, men and women of like high ranks. And at the same time, of course, there is also people of kind of like less fortunate origin. But it's always, yeah, it's just very, very busy. And this was one of the most pivotal religious events in medieval Europe, ending in what they call like a Western schism. So there were three competing popes, and then like eventually one got elected. But what's interesting is that while all of this was happening, and it went on for like over 4 years, imagine. So what they wanted to do also at a certain point in time, they wanted to build Constance as a replica, or as a symbol of the actual empire city of Rome, with like 4 cardinal churches. And so you find a lot of sacred geometry built in and ingrained in the city still today. But what I want to talk about is, so there was this like competing from the outside of these men of power. It's all men, right? And there is kings, there is bishops, there is dukes, there is the the election of this new pope, and there's all these men coming together kind of like with their spirit of fighting for power. And then there is one, of course not only one, but there is one particular figure, a female figure in history. Her name is Imperia. Imperia, I mean, just like the empire. And she's a Roman concubine, a prostitute, basically. That there is a figure, if you go to Constance in the harbor, and she's got the Pope and the King on each of her palms of her hands, and she's barely naked, like bare breast. She's just like having this beautiful kaftan, but you can basically see through. And what it represents is this primordial feminine female power that is able to hold both, to hold the earthly and also to hold the spiritual power equally, and to be able to direct within her services in terms of like sexual acts and intimacy as a natural part of these power dynamics, to steer and be influential in this 4-year process. That was basically a major steering of where the future of this empire would go, right? And there is so much coming together of this outward masculine direction, and the more subtle in the background, but very powerful feminine strength that knows how to initiate, that knows how to take the masculine and like form it and mold it with the serpentine wisdom in a way that the outcome of this power struggle is going to be mostly the most beneficial it can be for this timeline and future generations. And there is the Cathedral of Constance, which is this massive Gothic structure. It's a Notre Dame. It's dedicated to Mary. And it's always like served as a central church for pilgrims and clergy and like spiritual people and people of religion either way. So the city has been a destination for religious pilgrimages and also theological scholarship all along. It's also a place where many pilgrimage paths cross, connecting different sites, not just in the region, in the Alpine region. There's lots of abbeys, but it is part of the Santiago de Compostela on the way to the Abbey of Einsiedeln, for example, where you would find a Black Madonna. And also the city itself, Constance, it holds so much of this transformational energy where it's literally like death and rebirth coming together. So still within all of these hustle and bustle of the council, there is the Czech theologian and philosopher who became a church reformer, basically. He was burned at the stake. His name is Jan Hus. So he was proclaiming from one of the balconies in one of the ancient houses. And he was burned at the stake for proclaiming new ways that would, of course, threaten the church. And then if we go further in time, during World War II, there's two interesting things. So first of all, Constance, the old town of Constance survived. So it's really magnificent. The houses, when you get a chance and you walk through, they're so beautiful. Like they're either painted. There's these ancient, yeah, like mural paintings, or all of the houses, they have different names, and you can see like how the date to which they are dating back. Built in a very specific or like beautiful sacred geometric way, like ingrained with these structures of beauty and energy and all of that. And the reason why you can see that as one of the few cities around the lake. So if you go to the North Shore, for example, everything is basically eradicated because it was bombed in the Second World War. And the reason why Constance and the old town survived is because of a trick, because they, through like switching lights on and off, and then you would have the vast surf at night, and then you would have the vast surface of the lake. They would think that when the bombings came from above, they would think that this is territory that belonged to Switzerland, and Switzerland being neutral, there was no going there. And so that was a trick that they applied, the inhabitants applied, to make sure to keep themselves safe. Plus, it was also commercially a very important center. And then coming back to like this revolutionary energy, there was a man called Georg Elser, and he was the one who tried to assassinate Adolf Hitler during the World War II. And guess where he got arrested? In Constance. So there is, you have a lot of figures where there is this upheaval, where there is this the offspring of, in terms of like the church or the empires, from the devil, but it's actually like going back to the tree of gnosis, to Eve and the apple, where we get this taste of like, what is it if we truly stand for our own truths, and the truth connected to source. And that wasn't times, of course, where this was well kept and well received. So these people were killed. But as we know, energy can't be killed, right? It always only transmutes. So it's just like this whole coming together of death and rebirth. And then I also want to tell a little bit about the local legends. There is so much where we find creatures, like fascinating different forms, where there is always a mix of kind of like different animals, or even like animals and human. So there is a sea hare, for example, very popular also today. Nowadays, we have still a very big tradition of carnival, which is the transition from winter into spring and summer, where we shoo off, as a pagan tradition, like the winter or the demons. And one of the groups, or several groups actually, they are representing these sea hares. So it is the form of a hare with a fin, with a fish tail, or with a mermaid tail. And another one is a lindworm. A lindworm is something similar to a dragon, but not quite. And they are super popular in like the Alpine tradition. So when you go back and like read about legends, you would often hear about these lindworms. And it's typically a wingless serpentine dragon that either like lives in water, or in caves, or mountains. So diving into the myths and the legends and the stories that are present locally, no matter what country we come from, it's always like this mix of this mystical creatures, where it's a combination of, again, like different elements of earth and water, of spirits, of human, of not human. There is two spots that I also want to mention, and One is an island, it's a peninsula. It's called Reichenau. And if we go translate the name, it's kind of like a rich wetland. It's very much a male presence with like a peninsula reaching like a phallic shaft into the waters of the lake. And there is some, it's been a cultural and spiritual Christian center of pilgrimage for many, many times. And even nowadays, there is some relics that they keep of certain saints, and there is specific holidays, like holy days, that are only valid on the island, on the peninsula, where they bring out the relics and carry them around the island and then like bring them back into the abbey. It's a super beautiful place to visit. They are also very popular for their local wine and for their local vegetables. It's a very fertile soil, a very fertile region, because yes, it is wetlands and they are being exported even to the north of Germany, and very, very big here. So anyways, we have this male presence in a way. And then on the other side, there is an energetic connection with a sister convent of Holy Elizabeth. They are called like Sisters of the Holy Cross. It's a sister convent, and the stories tell of an underground tunnel where these sisters and brothers that fell for each other would have used to meet, of course, And of course, then sometimes from these gatherings, there were unwanted children, but they could not be kept alive, right? Or they were either be given away, or they, sadly enough, were murdered or not even carried out. And the part where the peninsula connects with the main island is called Kindlebild, meaning like a mirror of children. So it's like this alley of children or of souls of spirit that stand as a testament of like they could not make it to Earth, or they were not allowed to live a fully human life on Earth. And then on the other hand, there is an aspect of mercy. So one of the smaller parts of the lake, it's called Lake Mercy. This is actually where I grew up, where I was born and where I lived. So Bodensee in German. And it is linked to a lot of stories to mercy and pardon, because historically, a lot of criminals, they were on the island of Reichenau, and they could be pardoned by tolling a bell before crossing the lake. They were death sentenced, and they crossed the lake to a hill where they supposedly were waiting for their execution. And so as they were crossing with the barge over the lake, and if mercy was granted and they would hear the bell, the execution was halted. There's another story that also ties to Mother Mary and like Our Lady of Mercy, tied to the abbey, that you can visit at the Isle. So there's that. And then there's also a lot of royal coatings present, especially like on the North Shore. So if you come from the waterway into the town of Lindau, for example, and if you like pay attention a little bit to the naming, again, we had the lindworm. We have that name of the town of Lindau, which is in Bavaria. So it's a specific county in Germany, and their symbol is the lion. So there is a lot of these royal coatings as well. And then we have another town that if you ever get the chance to be here, I highly, highly recommend you to visit. It's one of my favorite spots. It's called Meersburg, basically Castle of the Sea. And it's also like super charming old town, lots of dragon energy there with a, at the same time, also like this feminine philosophic presence through ancient philosophers in the Middle Ages or in the medieval times that lived there and like left quite a legacy. And there's again like so many stories about, and there's a big like this ancient castle that is still there and you can visit. So many like legends about tunnels and caves and how they would like lead into the lake and where people would hide. So it's really like that kind of like hide and seek energy that you find in there. And there's another one, another basilica, another pilgrimage place. It's beautiful, like stunning Baroque style, very different style than other places around the lake. But what is peculiar for this one, of course, it's also like linked to, it has a Mary statue. It's linked to the Mary line as well, to the Rose line as well. But it's got a 6-pointed star in the courtyard. So again, it's like the Merkaba coatings. It's this the lineage of the star coatings, the rose line, the dragon lines. It's like all of these little hints, which I have to say in the region, they are very subtle because it's also like the Catholic influence has been and still is very strong. But if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you will find so many beautiful, beautiful symbols, like, yeah, points where you can connect to your own Gnosticism, your self-remembrance, and that truth that resides within, whilst also connecting into different layers of maybe human incarnations or lineages or different teachings or different philosophical influences that are coming together. And then if we go to the west, there is an area that is called Hegau. It's a volcanic landscape. It's all volcanic landscapes. And so what you have to know is also this whole line in the south of Germany going all along and then into the lake. It's an energetic rupture line. And of course, like we don't get these huge earthquakes as somewhere else in the world, but we do get earthquakes. I remember quite a few actually. And also, if you follow the lake and you follow along the Rhine River, there is the Rhine Falls, which are like spectacular. The water bringing these crystalline coatings further north, and it's like this. It's not super steep, but it's wide. And if you get a year where there is a lot of water, it's quite spectacular. Just like to stand in the spray of these water coatings. And that is the information and kind of like the Kundalini, imagine it like the Kundalini energy that from the root chakra, from this Lake Constance is being through the water, through the Rhine River, rising up through Europe, rising up through Germany. If you get a chance to visit, please let me know. And whenever I am here and I'm present, I would love to meet up. I would love to have a coffee or like a tea and just sit with you or give you some secret spots that I haven't mentioned here, but there's lots of Mary places as well. We have a Mary Gorge. Yeah, just it's a rich landscape, whether you come as a tourist or just as a sacred seeker or an explorer. There's lots of things to do. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode, which is giving you some summer vibes and some ideas, maybe to visit different places, or also, to look in your own hometown and your own region, like with different eyes. How can you walk through a landscape that you've walked so many times, like with different eyes, and see and remember and feel things that you maybe have not felt before, or you haven't ever questioned it because it was just there. It was just taken for granted. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. It was such a personal pleasure for me to share my home region with you. And as always, stay curious and try to escape the ordinary. I'll see you next time.